Hi guys, V from Movies Hunter here. This time I have a drama thriller film from 2015 called Careful What You Wish For. Now, as the name suggests, this movie is about a wish gone wrong. And no, not just wrong. It basically turned out to be the worst wish of Nick Jonas's life. Okay, in the opening scene, we see our boy Nick magically becoming a 17-year-old teenager named Dog, who, along with his parents, is going to spend the summer away from the busy city life. Or so they thought. There, Doggy Dog goes to see his friend Carson, who tells him, "Bro, there are plenty of women here, bro. We can romance them every day." Now, after that really weird dialogue, the two horny teenage boys went home. Dog watches outside his window and learns that a new couple is moving in next door. The husband is basically an investment banker thingy named Elliot, and he has a young and beautiful wife whom I am developing a crush on, and her name is Lena. Doggy Dog right here keeps staring at her and is just immediately drawn to her. My goodness, she's pretty. Now later on, Dog and his parents go to welcome their new neighbor. When Elliot learns that Dog apparently has a thingy for sailboats, he hires him to work on his boat. The next morning, as Dog checks out this sick-ass boat, subscribe so I can buy one, he then sees Lena, who was swimming in the lake. She goes straight to the changing room and removes her clothes. Doggy Dog is surprised by this and can't take his eyes off her. Just then, Elliot also comes there and tells Dog, "Boy, I'm leaving for work, so I won't be around to see the progress. Good luck, do a good job or else I spank you." So at night, Nick Jonas right here peeks through his window like a fucking perv and sees Elliot forcing himself on Lena. Dog is apparently surprised by this as he thought that they were a happy couple. Now, the next morning, Doggy Dog and Elliot take a sailboat to the boatyard for repairs. Dog asks Elliot, "Bro, how you become rich and get a beautiful wife, huh?" Elliot then explains, "My buddy, it's all about risk, you know? When the others are afraid of stepping in, that's when you make a move." Great tip. So, one day, Doggy finds Lena waiting for him. She tells him that she lost her home keys and wants Dog's help to break in. Dog agrees and breaks the window to open the door from inside. Since Dog got injured while breaking in, Lena offers to treat him. And this sounds like the beginning of a terrible adult film, because it basically is. Just kidding, but it's close to it. Lena then gives him a seductive smile. Dog gets scared shit and wants to leave, but he then changes his mind and the two end up getting romantic. One day, Lena tells Dog, "Oh, my beautiful doggy, I keep thinking about you the entire week." Dog is now feeling like he is the most luckiest guy on the planet, all because of getting laid. Yay! Now their visits or sessions or whatever this is called become regular, and they start seeing each other even when Elliot is around. One day, Lena gives him a prepaid cell phone as they are untraceable and Elliot will never find out about them. Afterwards, Doggy, along with Elliot and Lena, go out to test the sailboat to make sure that it is seaworthy. Elliot then asks Dog if he has a girlfriend, to which Dog responds, yeah, I have one." When Elliot is distracted, Lena shows Dog a bruise on her legs and tells him, "Elliot abuses me, so I consider divorce." Later at night, Dog receives a call from Lena, who is crying and was just like, "That bitch has Elliot assaulted me again, huh?" So Dog suggests that she needs to report this to the police. But Lena refuses, saying that she is too scared. However, one day, Lena unexpectedly goes to Dog's room and tells him that she needs his help as something has happened. So Dog right here rushes to her home and discovers that Elliot and Lena got into a fight and she managed to hit him on the head with something. It turns out that Elliot is now officially dead and Lena wants Dog's help to get rid of the body. Dog wants to call the police, but Lena doesn't want to, as she fears that she is going to get arrested for killing her husband. So Dog assures her that, hey, we will figure something out, okay? It's okay, Lena. Act normal, okay? Act normal. Later at night, Dog goes to Lena's house and tells her that they can make it look like an accident. But Lena tells him, "Boy, that excuse won't work. I've already seen it a couple of times. No, we don't do that. Just get rid of the body." So Dog comes up with a new brilliant plan and decides to take Elliot's body to the boat. He also tells Lena that she will have to tell the cops that they had a fight and Elliot left the house. But just as Dog leaves on the boat, the security guard right here sees him. But since he can't really see Dog's face clearly, Doggy Dog pretends to be Elliot and leaves. Now, the next morning, the cops find Elliot's body and assume that he died in an accident. Last night, Dog had used a beam on the ship to make another injury on Dog's head and then used alcohol and a cigarette to set the boat on fire. At work, Dog learns from the cops that Lena is now going to get $10 million from Elliot's life insurance, which Lena never told Dog about. Later on, an insurance investigator named Angie shows up in the town to investigate Elliot's death. She goes straight to the Popos and tells the officers that the LA Trust is taking the case very seriously. She then pushes her theory that Elliot didn't die in an accident, bro. He was probably murdered by Lena so that she can get his insurance money. So Angie begins her whole investigation and asks Lena if the couple had been sleeping around. Lena replies, I don't have any infidelity issues, but I can't say the same for Elliot. Meanwhile, the cops are also investigating the case. Just then, the guard from the waterfront tells them that he might have a suspect from that night. Oh, Popo, I thought I had seen Elliot that night, but it might have been somewhere else, said the guard. Meanwhile, Angie goes to Lena's house to take a look at the crime scene. She discovers the broken glass window that Dog broke the night he first met Lena. Later at night, Angie comes over to Dog's house and questions his parents about the night that Lena visited them. Dog sees them and fears that Angie might find a link connecting him to the murder. At the station, Angie asks him, "What do you think about Elliot's relationship with Lena?" She then tries to push Dog to reveal the details, but his mommy intervenes and tells the agent, "I will allow you to frame my son." Later on, Dog receives a message from Lena asking him to meet her in the boat shed. There, Lena tells him that they need to stop meeting for a while, as all her movements are being watched by the cops and Angie. Before leaving, she asks Dog to hide the phones she gave to him, as they can lead the cops to them. So Dog hides the phones in the boat shed itself and plans to destroy them later. When Dog returns home, he sees Angie and the cops, and Angie tells him that she has to take his fingerprints and a mouth swab as they have collected the blood of the suspect from the broken window. Angie then starts grilling him and tells him to reveal everything. She tells him that he seems innocent and that he may be getting manipulated by Lena so that she can frame him and get the insurance money. But Dog doesn't reveal anything. Instead, he goes to talk to Carson and tells him that he may actually be cheated on by Lena. So Carson tells him to get the phones and use them as proof before going to the cops. Meanwhile, these popos find a match for the blood sample that Angie took from Dog. On top of that, Dog's attempts to prove his innocence are stopped at every turn, presumably by Lena. For example, a gardener of the Harbors who had seen Dog and Lena together turns up murdered before the police can talk to him. Before the cops can arrest him, Dog escapes and goes to the watershed to get the cell phones. But Lena shows up and reveals that she took the phones and Dog will never find them again. She then rips off her clothes and starts screaming, making it look like Dog is forcing himself on her. Just then, the cops arrive there and arrest Dog. Dog then, however, tells the sheriff that they know him and that he needs some time to clear his name. So the sheriff lets him go and Dog rushes to Lena's motel to get the phones. He checks her purse and finds several passports of Lena under various names. Just when he grabs the phones, Lena comes out of the bathroom and is shocked to see Dog there. When Angie also comes there, Dog tells her that the phone has complete proof of his innocence. Angie tells him that he did great, but she then handcuffs him to the bed, saying that he needs to wait for the cops and tell them everything himself. Angie and Lena then walk out of the motel. Just then, Dog notices that they both have the same matching tattoo. He realizes that Angie is actually Lena's lover and has been her accomplice since the beginning. They both play Dog hard and put the entire blame for Elliot's murder on him. Everything comes flashing back to him as he realizes how dumb he is and how he was just a pawn in a bigger game. At first, it seems that Lena will leave Dog to take the rap. However, in a last gesture of love, or whatever this is, she decides to leave Dog the cell phone, which contains the exonerating evidence he needs. The two women then flee the country on a private plane after claiming Elliot's insurance money. And in the closing voiceover, Dog explains how he was eventually sent to prison, but on reduced charges for a short period of time. Lena and Angie are still on the run, and Dog wishes that he could turn back and do things differently. But after remembering Lena's face and attractive body, he wonders if he really could do things differently, which is very funny to me. Although Lena took away his youth, Dog admits that he had a great time with Lena while it lasted. Would you feel the same? Comment down. And so this was the story of Careful What You Wish For. See you in the next hunt. Love you, bye!